Yeah, 6:30 on the nose.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order this regular board meeting of the Pullman School District for September 26, 2018. And we'll begin, as we always do, with the flag salute. Mandy, would you care to lead us? Thank you so much.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we'll begin, as we always do, with an approval of the agenda. Superintendent Maxwell, are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
There are no changes to tonight's agenda.
All right, thank you.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, the agenda is approved. Next, we'll move on to reports, correspondence, and program, beginning with our Pullman High School ASB report presented by Mandy Raveno.
Hello, lovely to see you all again.
Hello.
You as well.
So, we haven't had much happen since we last talked, but we do have a lot coming up in our next week. It is homecoming week. So I have our schedule, and there's a lot, so I'm just going to go day by day really quick. So, Sunday we're having our hall decorating. This is where all the students get to come to the school, and they'll split off by grade and just decorate the hall based on their theme, which I will tell you in a second. And that's about 4 hours, which seems like a long time, but there's so much to do, and it always ends up looking really good, and it's a great time for our students to bond. So the seniors are sci-fi fantasy. Our overall theme is TV shows, so each grade is divided to a TV show. So the seniors are sci-fi and fantasy, the juniors are kids' TV shows, the sophomores are game shows, and the freshmen are animated shows. Those were chosen by the students, so that's how they chose to do it. On Monday, we are having Jersey Shore Day as our first theme, which is like work out clothes. On Tuesday, also, these themes are student voted as well.
I have to come to the Monday one, I really am.
The name of the TV show.
Okay. Tuesday is Drake and Josh Day, and we'll have games during activity lunch. During activity lunch, we will have games for the students. We have soccer game and volleyball at 4, which we always encourage the students to go to even more during homecoming week because it's just a big week where everyone comes together. On Wednesday, we're having Duck Dynasty Day, and we will have games during lunch as well. And there's also our cross-country meet and homecoming game night on the football field, which is when all of the students come and we have fun competitions and just like some grade rivalry, getting ready for Friday for the big lip sync competition. And then on Thursday, we have The Voice, so the singing competition show. And again, we will have activity lunch games. And on Friday is the big assembly for all of Spirit Week, which all the students go to and talk about how the dance is going to be on Saturday. And we talk about how everything went the prior week, how the points are added up, who's winning, who's not winning, who's going to be homecoming royalty, etc. And then we have the homecoming football game, and they will announce royalty at the football game, I believe, is the plan.
Yeah, so royalty this year, we decided to instead of do traditional voting, because it just becomes a popularity test, what we do is it's based on the kids who participated the most throughout the week. And then of those kids, if there's a tie, then of those kids. So they'll actually be announced at the football game unless if there's a tie. But for in theory, we're going to have this assembly.
So for the Voice Day,
Yes.
are you going to do a singing competition?
I am not sure. I'm guessing not.
Aww.
No, it's they're dressing up rapper versus rocker.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
interesting.
And then, of course, Saturday is our dance, which will be held at the high school from 8 to 10:30. And that is also going to be themed as TV shows. So things like The Office, making appearances, basically categories from each of the grades themes. So that is what our upcoming week will look like. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mandy.
Mandy.
Okay. Next, we'll move along to board reports, and we'll begin with you, Director Roberts.
So we just finished our fourth meeting of the Communications Advisory Committee. Things are going really well, and I'm really pleased to hear all the fantastic ideas that we're coming up with, and looking forward to compiling all of them into something we can present to the board. But otherwise, nothing to report.
All right, thank you. And Director Everman, welcome.
I apologize for being late. I got hung up at the lab, but I'm here,
These things happen.
so no report this evening.
Okay.
Typical scientist.
Thank you.
The dog did not eat my homework.
Director Tanner.
I was lucky enough to attend the Amani Mile Choir from Uganda last night at LMS. And so it was amazing. It was really cool. The whole multi-purpose room was totally full. They had to bring in a bunch more chairs for people, standing room in the back. So I just want to thank LMS for providing that opportunity for culture for our students and our community. It was really very neat. I was going to attend the LMS staff meeting today, but that's getting rescheduled because there was a cross-country meet today. So I look forward to attending that when it gets rescheduled. Also, the food pantry for Pullman High, Lincoln Middle School, Jefferson, and Franklin will be launching on October 5th. So that's very exciting. And then Sunnyside kind of does their own thing, and they're already starting to do that as well. And then I just wanted to say thank you to Shannon for putting together the Why Wednesday. That was really cool to see that come out today. So thank you. I saw it on Facebook as well as the email that came out to the staff. So that's an exciting, cool thing going on. So thank you.
Great. Okay, and I have a report. I was at the meeting with
Can always get a trump
Communications. Yep. So let's move on to the Superintendents Report.
So thank you. So construction update, Kamiak Elementary, our regular weekly meeting is tomorrow. But they are making great progress on Kamiak. You, as board members, should be receiving a doodle poll, seeing what your availability is towards October. We'd like to take you on another walkthrough so you can see the latest and greatest update in person. So we'll need to coordinate that, but please check your email for that invitation. But we are on schedule, on budget with that project, and Fairview is now paved all the way to the end of our property. And there is a 10-foot asphalt walking and bike path on the Kamiak side of Fairview and a sidewalk on the other side of Fairview. So those are in. We're hoping to have electricity by October 1. So we can actually start firing up some of the systems and testing those systems. And we need electricity to complete the building on the inside. So really going well, so really pleased with the project. Also, I meant to scan this and send this to you, but I'll pass it down. Just a reminder, we have been implementing the scratch cooking starting at the secondary level. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16 different scratch offerings coming this month. And so I'll pass that down there with the circle. But I really, really enjoyed the Korean street tacos, so I highly recommend that. But if you can make it to lunch, I will buy your lunch. So if you'd like to come. So.
Wow.
And trust me, Diane will tell you that doesn't happen very often.
I was going to say, that's why Roberta.
I said the board. So if you'd like to actually try out some of our scratch cooking, the high school is really taking off with it. So that'll be my report.
All right, thank you so much. Next, we have a series of 6 what appear to be very interesting reports tonight. Beginning with our TOSAs, Grace Grow and Johnny Stevens, I'd like to invite you to give a report on TOSAs, what you do, and professional development, it looks like.
Let's do this.
We're going to put a timer on because you know how some of us like to talk.
I'm not taking that personally.
I meant me as well.
First of
of all, thank you for having us again. We appreciate you inviting us. So this is our update for this year, 2018, 2019, and there's a picture of Johnny and I dressed alike, and it was not planned. Wow. We were at a SIT meeting. We like to begin with why. One of the things that Johnny and I did at the new teacher orientation was we asked our new teachers to the district what's their why, and that's what that is up there. And it's
We
about
also invited the administration to come in and please explain their why. And it was a really wonderful opportunity for our new teachers to the district to see what was important in Pullman School District to our administration and leadership team. And we're excited to see that so many of those why things have been carried on through the school year in the district, because it really proved powerful.
You have to know why we're doing this so we can continue to grow. So Johnny and I always go back to the students. We wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for the students. So that's why we're here. Last night we had TPEP training, and one of the activities we did is we asked them to tell us what great teachers model, what great teachers do. And they come up with some awesome ideas. I wanted to share that with you just because it gets going in a positive and great way. One of my favorites up here is
Oh, please.
this one right here.
Show grace.
I don't know why that's my favorite, but I'm sure you can figure out why. So we just thought that was a great activity. It's just about reflecting and how we can continue to look at our practice and grow. Add anything to that?
Yeah, my favorite is put faith and trust in students.
What we decided, and it was Roberta's idea, I want to make sure that that was up there, is what do great TOSAs do? Well, we don't quite know yet because we do a lot of different things, but we just wanted to put up some of the items that we do on a daily basis or a weekly basis or a monthly basis. And we're not going to read those to you because it's up there for you. I'm going to ask her.
Yeah, what we were wondering, what you think great TOSAs do. We would love to hear some feedback from you guys about what you think great TOSAs do. And we could either use that as an opportunity to grow our practice as TOSAs or to reaffirm some of the things we believe in already. Anybody interested in sharing, please?
I feel like I hear you guys visiting lots of classrooms, talking to people, trying to figure out what they want you to be to them, and compiling lots of data, and then figuring out, like, okay, what's our priority? What's the most requested thing that people want for professional development or something like that? So because you are classroom teachers, you are talking to classroom teachers, getting it from their words, and then translating it into an administrative delivery of that.
Cool. And what were we talking about in the parking lot?
Lots of things.
Yeah, okay. Okay, come on.
Okay, let's
We're usually in better sync than that.
Well, we had a couple trainings today before this.
Yeah, so we were actually talking about why are we so busy this year? I mean, even busier than last year, and why is that?
Well, we feel like teachers are trusting us more, so they're asking us for more support.
We get asked all the time. I mean, every time we're in a building, as I was leaving Franklin Elementary today, a paraprofessional came up to me and said, thank you so much for the training you did for us last week. And we've been talking about it, and we'd really love to hear some ideas about writing from Grace next time. And I'm like, okay, thank you. I mean, and so when we have people in our community deciding what they need and then coming back to us and requesting it of us, that's powerful. We're so happy. I thought that was wonderful. I was so happy. I said, Grace, I'm just going to add something to your plate. So we are busier than ever, as everyone is. But I loved how Grace framed that for me today when we were in the parking lot. I was like, Grace, I don't know if I keep up. She goes, Johnny, it's a good thing.
It is, yes. So we're feeling supported by the district, and that we feel that the teachers are feeling supported. So it's a trickle-down effect.
Did we want to give anybody else a chance to say what they would like to see from us? Or
Go ahead.
Well, I think it's already been said, and you can show it, that you're very energizing.
no, thank you.
Most days.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's nice.
No, but I think the other thing I like is that you relate to the teachers and you provide them with resources.
Yeah,
And
we try.
I think teachers, number one, like to have administrative support, but they like to have resources in which to increase their knowledge base without being intimidated. I think that's what
Sorry.
you both
Silent
do.
hand signals, I'm used to, yeah.
No, I think providing resources without them feeling it, that's major.
Because one of the things Johnny and I always communicate to the teachers is we're not evaluative. So we just continue to communicate that.
Right, and I think that's really important in the classroom.
And sometimes we find out that the resources they want are some advice and some listening.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
I mean, I've not had too much experience with those.
Okay.
I mean, my impression was that you really served as the bridge that kind of joins all of the classes and grade levels together. I mean, I know like teaching is a very in-room kind of thing. You know, you're always with the kids and always with the students. So I just always saw a lot of your role and appreciated that you reached out to the teachers. You know, you tried to share lessons. You tried to come up with, you know, identify the best practices and kind of spread them out through trainings. Really value that part of your role. So
Thank you.
Yeah,
We
and
didn't really ask this to be like, tell us everything we're great about, but we really didn't.
you're just so fantastic.
What we're doing though is modeling best practices.
We want to know.
Well, and to tack on to what Nathan is saying, I think that you guys have been a great bridge between the teachers and the administration.
Thank you, great. That's
Which,
good
I
to
mean,
hear.
I think that that's been really valuable to every person that you've touched in the district, which is a lot. And then I've also noticed that you guys are incredibly available, which is huge. Another reason why you're getting busier.
Yeah, which is great. We're really happy about it. And we are.
What's an average day in the life of a TOSA? There is no average day because it changes. And one of the reasons I added this is that we have 33 new hires. I think that number is correct. They're certificated to the Pullman School District this year. 18 of them are new to the profession, brand new, and then 11 second year from last year. So part of the BEST grant that we're facilitating is that. And we're really trying to model best practice, support, get them resources, whatever they need. And we're trying to be really available to them.
We're excited that we are in this position, that we have the opportunity to do that. Because I honestly believe that our new hires wouldn't be as successful if it weren't for the work that Grace has done and the support that the district has given us to support our new hires. Roberta and Bob are often asking us, what classrooms have you been in? What's going on with our new teachers? What do they say? What are they feeling? And often, so that's been great. But what's something that's been added this year, we try and start most days at some schools' sit meeting. That's something that Roberta had wanted us to do, and Bob too, and it's been great because we get to help teachers strategize on ways to effectively meet the needs of students that might need some extra support in reading or math. And that's been great. And most days after the sit meeting, we then are doing something in the school with teachers that have said, hey, I'd like to talk to you about that. Or, hey, I've got this kid that is doing this. Can you help me figure out what's up? And so that's what we were talking about today. She goes, what'd you do after the sit meeting? I go, I went and helped this teacher. I go, what'd you do? She goes, I went and helped this teacher. So, I mean, we're helping kids, but that's the kind of thing that happens. And then most days we're involved in some type of training.
So, for an example today, sit meeting, went and helped a teacher find some resources that they needed, doing some research on that. Johnny had math training to prepare for that she'd already been working on and then had to go train. I then was getting ready for highly capable training this afternoon. And then to
Then
make
we
sure
got to meet with you, which was awesome.
Yes.
We're so excited about our website. So that's awesome. Sorry, I know we only have a certain amount of time, but thank you. Shannon met with us, said, why is this surprise anyone?
So one of the great things was the new teacher induction. We got some really great feedback to where we can continue to grow and do better. But we sent out a survey, and I believe we shared that with you, the survey. Johnny, did we send that to them? I think we did. And if not, we'll get you the survey of how the new teachers responded. But it was really positive. And it was 2 days of full house, but they seemed to really enjoy it.
It's funny, we were talking to Corone Jones today, one of our new hires at Lincoln Middle School. She rocks. And she was like, so how long have you two known each other? Thank you so much. And she goes, it's like you've been together for years. And I'm like, yeah, man, we just became friends about a year ago. It just worked.
So these are some pictures from the beginning of the year. And this is Johnny at a, I went the wrong way. This is Johnny at a sit meeting saying, where are you guys at? So
I was the first to show up. I'm like, anybody else going to come?
there's some new pictures, and things we're excited about as we continue this journey. I'm not going to go through it all, but these are some items that we're really excited about.
Third one down is you, Shannon, new website. We really want to provide an easy place for teachers to go and find websites. And I was so impressed with Shannon because what she said at our meeting was, what I hope to happen is that other districts look at ours and go, whoa, we want to have a website like Pullman School District. So thank you. We're excited about that.
Thank you. And what we have learned, it's working. It's working. But these are some honest comments that Johnny and I wanted to share. Not easy, but it's worth it. Like any teacher, any educator, we never feel like we're doing enough.
I never feel like we get to enough teachers.
We need each other to collaborate and grow because this can be an isolating job. Because you're not in the classroom, but you're also not an admin. But it's also a special place to be. Vision is important. We need to be inspired as well. There are days that we are like, okay, so we get inspired by seeing that growth. We want to be a continual learner. Support the leadership. We appreciate the support of leadership staff, and we see growth and change every day. So thank you. What questions do you have?
So are you guys still focusing on math this year? Is that still the focus, or has it kind of evolved?
No, and I'm
into-
laughing because I'm always focused on math. And that's part of our dynamic, right? But we're actually focused on new hires right now.
Okay.
We have a lot of really new teachers, and so we're focused on them.
Okay.
That is our number one focus. Even when I do coaching, when we both do coaching, yes, she does coaching for ELA issues, and I do coaching for math issues all the time, every week. But many times we go into a classroom and we suspend a content area, and we're about helping that teacher in domain 2 of our framework, which is in the classroom. How are we developing relationships and culture in the classroom?
It's a big, I shared this last year, but that's a big passion of mine. Is it begins with the relationships and the connections you make with kids. That's when learning really begins. And so we're really seeing that positive, productive connection. And it's the how of how to do that. You have to be intentional, and it has to be purposeful. It has to be part of your everyday plan. So we're really seeing that.
And yes, we focus on math, and I met with the K2 teachers today, and the message I was giving them is that the practices that we were sharing are best practices across curricular areas. Of course, they're focused on math, and I deliver some content knowledge on math too, because we have to understand those foundation principles for number sense, addition, subtraction, all of those things before we can open up mathematics in a rich way to kids. But the work we have done in the past years has been building it. We have a really good base and a momentum now that is really, I'm so proud of it. And it's not just me. I know we talked about a recent report by OSPI evaluating the Math Fellows program that talked about Pullman and basically me doing all this stuff, but I don't feel that that's the case. And Bob was nice enough to talk to me today. I'm like, Bob, this isn't portrayed right. So he gave me some good information, but it's been a group effort for our math. And yes, we are going to continue to work on math because we have places to grow. And it's going to happen in those areas. I feel it. I mean, I don't feel it, Bob. I know that's not what I'm supposed to do based on feeling. The data is showing we are moving in the right direction, and it's going to happen.
It is happening.
It is happening. But we are interested in every child every day. So every child every day is not always math. So as much as I try and convince Grace that math is the only thing we should be doing, if kids can't access reading, they can't do math. So that's important always for us. Did that answer your question?
So given your increasing workload with all of these new hires, are you at all concerned, because I know this next year we're going to be hiring quite a few teachers for the new school. Do you feel you have adequate training resources to handle that new crop, or do you anticipate growth?
Yes.
I think
Yes to all.
but I honestly, Grace and I put in a lot of time this summer, and thank you for the support from the district of allowing us to put in that time this summer. But we worked hard on our induction program, and I'm telling you, it was good. And I mean, we worked hard on it.
One of the things we're learning is just like teaching, you have to prepare and plan.
And that's new in this job.
well, and bless Roberta's heart, she'll say, "You got it, Grace." I'm like, I gotta go study and plan this a little bit, which I appreciate, but that, in order
So
to do it well, it's just like teaching students. You have to be prepared for everything. So, yes, I feel like we have the resources and the support, and yes, I feel like it's going to be a lot to handle, but that's education. So, thank you for that question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, a STEM report presented by Assistant Superintendent Roberta Kramer.
It is my pleasure to introduce to you our elementary STEM specialist. We had a conversation about who should we really hear from. Let's hear from those who are doing the work. So I asked Jennifer.
Sorry, I was just reading off the
No, that's exactly fine. And so Jennifer said, yeah, I'll come and do that. So thank you, Jennifer. Some of you may remember we hired Jennifer 2 years ago, a little bit over 2 years ago, to create a program. We had no program. And really it's like build it and they will come. Jennifer jumped into it and the results have been amazing. And this year is a little bit of a wonky with space challenges, but she is amazing and has stepped up to the challenge. So thanks for joining us tonight,
I
Jennifer.
appreciate being here. I'm a little overexcited to talk to adults, so I apologize if I go over. I did bring a copy of the PowerPoint there if you're interested
Thank you.
in having your own slide. Okay, so
Slideshow up top.
there we go.
Up,
Sorry, I'm all
to the right. Up.
back.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Okay, so I just started with this. I always include the big controversial A because my background, I'm an art history major initially, and then I got my master's in teaching. And I also work with a lot of pre-readers. So art really comes in quite a bit for us, but obviously also science, technology, engineering, and math as well. But with those pre-readers, I tend to go with opportunities for them quite a bit. Just a quick kind of view. Roberta, thanks for setting that up for me a bit. My job, this is very quick. There's a lot more to it, but really the highlight is I get to develop, plan, prep, and implement quality and GSF aligned STEM lessons for all the K-5 students. So that requires me to serve and lets me serve 3 elementary schools. I get to work with every child in the K-5 system. I also get to collaborate and communicate with all the K-5 teachers, school staff, and admin. I meet the students once a week for 40 minutes, and then I get them for 1 semester, and then we switch. So the schedule will switch in January-ish, and depending on the holidays and professional development days, I typically see a class. The way that I started developing this was I looked at, the standards, and I looked at my time frame, and I really, I decided, okay, how am I going to anchor these lessons so that, the classroom teachers are also a little bit responsible for, or a lot responsible for the science and the math, and we have coaches helping them also. So I pulled out the engineering design specific standards to anchor. And then, of course, in each lesson, then they would integrate with the math or the science or whatever it is that they're integrating with. And I have some examples. So there are 3 kind of main standards there for K2. And then there are 3 standards for 3-5. I don't need to read them to you, but you do have them if you want to look over them at some point. So when I'm presenting these ideas to the kids, we kind of pull it out in the engineering design process. So ask, imagine, plan, create, improve. This is kind of one that's typically on that you'll see this a lot. I ended up creating my own version of it, basically the same thing, but I wanted a way to pull out those, since I am restricted to 40 minutes, hard to get through that whole process in a rich way. I struggle with it almost every day. So one of the ways that I've sort of adapted is to pull out and highlight one of those steps or two of those steps for each. So for instance, this is me. I'm on a cart at Franklin. So this is me just putting our kind of goals up in the middle. I think this is Mrs. Nelson's classroom. So I just take them with me and we slap them up in whatever classroom and then we talk about that as our focus for the day. So I have a couple examples of how this looks. So this is a building challenge in a 5th grade classroom. The engineering design step focus was imagine for this one. What I was finding was that, you know, we get into a building challenge and they just go, they build, and then there's not a lot of planning or thinking about multiple ways of how to solve the problem. So they had 3 challenges I gave them, but instead of diving into the supplies, they were required to sit, I think I gave them 3 to 4 minutes, and to draw as many solutions as they could come up with. And then they got 5 to 6 minutes as a team testing as many. So that is, this is an investigation in magnetic force. So you can see the focus is imagine, but then it integrates with that idea of and this is a 1st grade classroom, and they have 2 stations, exploring and imagining how can I use this force to move or to support. And so I threw some buttons in one of the boxes. And they, of course, would then discover that that doesn't work. And then they had to imagine how could they create something that would become magnetic. That's just a quick video of her testing her solution. So she realized it wasn't quite strong enough, so she had to go back. And so, of course, and then she's improving. She went back and improved. But that, even though that wasn't the focus necessarily, she did get to do that in that case. That's not always the way it works, but we did actually get to. This is another one where we did focus on improve. So again, it's a 4th grade exploration with magnetic force. They were given some restrictions on how to create a kite to show a model of a kite and how something would move in air, but using magnetic force to show that move. And they couldn't tape or glue the items. They had to figure out ways make that interaction strong enough. As well, we get to use the Chromebooks a lot. I just got a new set. There is a new set at Franklin. I'm super excited about it. The kids are super excited about it. We use them a lot, especially in 3 through 5 with coding. And we're getting a lot of, this crowd has done it now with me a couple of years. I use there's a few free websites. There's scratch.com, there's code.org, and one more. But this one really breaks down how do you use math to create an animation or solve a problem within a program. And so for this one, we were looking at positive and negative integers and what to do. We also looked at X and Y axis points, getting those animations points. So seeing why you should learn math, seeing how it applies to things that they may want to do. Okay, but there are growth opportunities. And like Roberta was saying, I'm super excited to be here. I love this stuff, what we're doing. And I would love, if anyone wants to come in and join me for a day, that would be awesome. Time and logistics are huge, a huge challenge. I think pulling out, one of those design process points is kind of helping me address that a bit. But it's still, I'm not able to offer like that deep, rich 40 minutes. I'd like to be able to do that. The specialist, so that's what I mean by the specialist schedule is not super compatible with rich STEM instruction, right? It has that time limit where I, am able to, I kind of have to feed them some of the information that I wouldn't normally because we have to get the space and storage solutions. No new news to anybody. If I have a space, it's shared space. If I'm at Franklin, it's a carpet closet. I have 2 cupboards sort of designated at Jefferson, and they're all, I'm grateful, they're all at capacity. Like I have tools. The district has provided tools. I've been able to get PFE grants, A grants. I have Legos. I have maintenance tiles and all that. But I also have straws and some disposable things that we fill with, which is great. But STEM comes with a lot of tools, and we're getting to that point where we had nothing, and now we're starting to build, and that's great. And our space is an issue. So like one solution to the time problem would be if I wanted to dig deeper with them, I could keep the project, and I could see them the next week and do the project next week. But then I run into space problem because I have 3 sets of 4th graders, that's a lot. Those are things I'm thinking about and trying to figure out how to solve. Also, this is exciting. We had the science collaboration, whatever that was, 4 weeks ago. And the teachers, I was with the 1st grade, they were talking about how they're going to build their resources and how they want more STEM projects in their class. We were talking about how could I support that with this program, and we looked at common language with that engineering design process. But then, if they're doing that in their rooms and we're doing that here, if that space and storage issue, it's a lot of time to organize and plan and then pull all those. If you want them figuring it out for themselves, I have to throw in things like buttons. It's going to work, right? Like otherwise, I'm just using it. So those are really important to have those spaces for those things. I'm working on trying to make myself less isolated and more collaborative and integrated. Again, with the traditional specialist schedule, that's kind of can be a challenge. So I did have like a nice little aha moment with Stephanie today, Gray, about how I can maybe reach out and touch base about some math and vocabulary. I can't really match all the time what each class is. So I would like to look at how I'm working on trying to create a program that's sustainable. Mostly where I would like more sustainability is really being able to understand all of those. That, to me, is where I feel like we were just talking about. I feel responsible for understanding all 15. So that, and then these skills are big. Like they're big skills. They're critical thinking skills. They don't necessarily have the regulation to understand I had an implode today. 20 minutes implode on the carpet, and gluing the way that he wanted. And we were talking about, well, you just need to try another tool. It should have worked. So these are things that I want to spend time talking to him through it, but then that means abandoning for 20 minutes. But, so there's, I would like to find ways that I can really get a little more deeper and rich with those kids and be able to support these higher level skills that we're So, and then just an idea, you know, that I would love to, if there, I don't know of any, so I've searched and I can't see, so I would, you know, and I'm putting these to you too, because I spend a lot of time with those kids. Adult feedback on some of these ideas would be awesome. We love that. And maybe looking at similar programs. I did get to go the first year I was here, I went up to the STEAM, there's a STEAM school in Spokane, which was wonderful, but such a different. I did get some great information, and it made me also feel like, okay, well, as for what I'm able to do, I'm on the right track. There were some really great benefits. But it might be nice to go visit somebody or talk with somebody about who's dealing with these same restraints, constrictions that we are. Oh, my thank you got somehow deleted. That's my thank you slide. I'll just finish. I really appreciate the opportunity to come here. Anytime you look. You have any questions about?
Like you could use some resources? I mean, do you have parapro working with you? Do you have parent volunteers working with you?
I have the parapros that come in with the students, you know, if they're assigned. I don't have one program necessarily.
That'd be beneficial. Okay.
Yeah, it's you know, it's a new program.
Sure. Well, as soon as I heard you talking, then I thought, well, boy, you would be you could do a science camp, but obviously you can't do a science camp.
And do this at the same time.
Yes.
No, that might be tough for my adding that, but yeah, yes, more hands always.
Are the supplies that you talk about, are there separate supplies for each building, or is there one set that travels?
So for instance, the Lego Magnetile grant that I got, I was able to get enough for each building. I don't write one for one building. Pay for all the supplies. Maybe that was a PDF grant. Anyways, yes, some of them through those grants I have figured out how to get them. Some of them I've not. I've just written a grant for the PTA at last year and got some really circuit games, so they can build. We built circuits like. Then I wanted them to have another way to explore, so they got. But I only have one set, so I take. So yes.
Thoughts. So I was just at the Franklin PTA meeting. They have a budget surplus that they don't know what to do.
Yes.
So I'm just going to throw that out.
Yeah.
You might give them something to do with it.
No, I do.
And then do you think at least some of these issues will be alleviated with the new school opening? I mean, as far as the space concerns, obviously, but I mean, do you anticipate being able to do more kind of in-depth then, or is it still more?
Well, okay, let's see. I anticipate the school definitely alleviating some of this, like the cramp, right? The storage, things like that. Well, the schedule will probably stay the same that we did. So I don't really anticipate that changing. And so, like right now, I have 4 days of 7. It's a really full day. So not a lot of time to really get deeper than the 40 minutes. I don't see the 40 minutes. Now, if I have space to leave things, not in Tiffany Moller's way, that may alleviate that a little bit as I share the space. Currently, I don't know what county I will look then I'm in her space when she's, so,
Kamiak was actually built with being built with a STEM room.
separate from the
Separate.
art room. Okay, so that might alleviate.
Then what, you said you went to that thing in Spokane this summer, and I understand our districts are widely different. But what sort of things would you like to see here that you saw there?
Are you going big? Okay, so a STEM room.
Done.
A lab.
Yeah, there we go.
A lab, yeah. But, the other schools too, I mean, I don't know how you would just add that component. We're not- That kind of space. Honestly, I don't know how you solve this problem. This is maybe like, I'm just seeing my little version of this, and I'm not privy to the big, the specialist schedule of that 40 minutes. I have 5 minutes where I'm trying to, and I teach, so the grade levels are designed to give grade level teachers collaboration. So for me, that looks like K, then 5th, then 4th, 3rd grade, K again, 1st, 2nd. So if I set up for K, we're not doing the same thing, 5th grade. So I have to break it down, then I set up for 5th. Sometimes 5th and 4th are similar. So anyways, I'm planning a lot around how do those grade levels look, which really ideally would be like I could have K through 2 on one day, get really down and deep with what we're doing there and not have to clean it up every time. And then the next.
That's a crazy mind switch, though, because, 5th grade and kindergarten are
Crazy
radically
mind
different,
switch.
radically different instruction.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is, probably already thought of this, but would it be possible to rearrange those days to where you could kind of double, so 2 days with, or is that too far apart?
Do you mean 2 days in a row?
Yeah, in a row so that you could do some of those deeper.
That'd be awesome. I don't know how, that's why I'm saying that big picture of how that schedule then
Bumps everyone else out.
everybody else. And so yeah.
Well, this is, if you have everything that you wanted, and so
that.
definitely the schedule is a big impediment to doing the deeper.
The schedule is a big impediment to digging as deep as we want, probably then.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice job.
All right, and now a report on summer school presented by Assistant Superintendent Roberta Kramer.
Okay, you have coming around for you a report similar, actually just like the one that's up on the screen. This is just to inform you of programs that we offered during the summer. As in previous years, we offered a summer learning academy. That's based on, as a requirement from the state Learning Assistance Program, or LAP. We have certain criteria for students that are leaving 3rd grade going to 4th grade related to reading, so that has to be our focus area. It's a challenge because we certainly know that we have some other little guys that would really benefit from summer school, but that's where our focus has to be. That's a condition of receiving those funds. So you can see that we offered that program this summer like we have in previous years. At Lincoln Middle School, we had a learning assistance program, math, that Kay Ayler has taught for us in the past. And what it is for kiddos that have left 5th grade going into 6th grade to kind of give them a jump start. It really provides an opportunity for the kids to develop some confidence before they go to actually start school, to kind of be reintroduced to math that they may have known but may have forgotten over the summer. At the high school, we run a credit retrieval program that's pretty large. but provides opportunities for students to retrieve credits that they may have lost to because of lack of attendance or performance challenges in the class. We offer an extended school year, which is an opportunity for students that are enrolled in our special education program. Kiddos that participate in that program, it's critical to that is their data. So it's a data-based decision. So students that are at risk of regressing over the summer have the opportunity to participate in that program. This year, Scott Thompson, as he transitioned from being a para in our district to being a teacher for us, he taught both the elementary program that we ran in the morning, and then he also taught the secondary program. So we really appreciated having Scott step up and do that work. And then before school starts, we do a jump start in our ELD program as well. This summer we had 13 participants, but that's always a very fun and exciting course for our kiddos. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
So the Pullman High School credit retrieval, were these mostly to correct failing grades?
Yes. Yeah.
And so is that required, or is it just available for people who want to graduate?
It's available, yeah. And then we can support that through Learning Assistance Program funds to help pay for their tuition because they're at risk of not graduating. So for 11th and 12th graders, we can use some of we can use some of our LAP funds for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta.
Thank you.
All right. And next, program compliance, presented by Superintendent Bob Maxwell.
Well, this will probably be the highlight of the presentations. Just kidding, because this is an annual requirement, so let me pull this up. So hopefully you've had an opportunity to look it over, so I won't spend a whole lot of time, but if need be, I'll definitely slow down and answer any questions you may have. So, appropriate measures taken to safeguard the students. So regarding the records, and we follow the Washington State Public Records Retention Manual, which is very large and very complex and changes almost every other year, but we follow that to a T. Provisions are made for the supervision of instructional practices. So by law, our building administrators have to receive training in the teacher principal evaluation program. Principal Bruce and Principal Bray are completing that training, and everyone will be trained in that, so we're current. Basic instructional materials are available, and those are available. We are purchasing some additional 5th grade ELA materials that we are short on after we've disseminated those materials, so those are being purchased. Program of guidance, counseling testing service are maintained, and we've actually expanded that this year with the addition of some extra counselors, especially one at the high school, so an additional one at the high school as well. Learning resources program is maintained, and you just saw a summer report of the learning resource program. The physical facilities of each building are adequate and appropriate. Joe does a great job with his staff, and they do a comprehensive walkthrough both within and the outside of the building facilities each August, or actually we changed that to spring, to make sure that we had time over summer to get things fixed if need be. Adequate provisions for health and safety of all students. This is one that we're continuing to work on, and in my State of the District address, I will highlight some of those things that have been done. Current policy statement pertaining to administration, operation of school districts is available online. All of our policies and procedures are posted on the Pullman website. This is the non-discrimination statement, and that is included on the most essential school district documents as by per Washington State Code. And actually, we haven't had to change it this year, which I'm surprised. So Within each school, the school principals determine the appropriate student discipline. This has been a topic that was discussed with the staff at the beginning of the school year as required, not only in our collective bargaining agreement, but also we have year one of a 2-year change in the discipline rules. And so information has also been distributed on our website for parents, so they're aware, or if they care to be informed, they can also check there for the details. Written high school graduation requirements rules have been adopted, and you're very familiar with those because policy 2410 seems to come before you about every 6 months. So that's a policy that you probably have memorized by now. And equivalence among all schools in teachers, administrators, auxiliary personnel, equivalence provisions of curriculum materials with Title I funds. And so there are specific formulas and guidelines regarding the Title I plans and distribution of materials and services, and those are followed up by policy 2104. So I am happy to provide the board that we are in compliance with our report. Any questions? Pretty standard year after year, but
Thank you, Bob.
Okay,
try to
so,
make it as interesting as possible.
yeah, that was wonderful. Okay, state of the district.
Yes, let me pull that up for you here. All right, so the state of the district. So this is an annual report that I provide. So some of this information you've heard before, some of it may be new. So again, you're very well informed of our mission and vision, but this is kind of a PowerPoint that I also use when I go out to community groups, Kiwanis, Rotary, Lions, etc. So you know our mission and vision. Enrollment trend. I do want to take a couple minutes here I want you to look at the 2018-19. If you compare that to the 2017-18, we had quite a surprise this month that we are actually slightly lower than last year at the same time. I am hoping that by October 1 that the numbers will improve. I know that there were some additional students enrolling today at Sunnyside, I believe. So I did check with my colleagues in surrounding districts. Interestingly enough, Moscow is down 90 students. Colfax is down 38 students. Holton is up 15 students. We are down about 35 students. So not really sure exactly all the variables. One I will tell you is that the state did change its full-time equivalent formula to count a full-time student in high school. Last year we were able to count a student as full-time if they went to 5 classes. That now has changed to 6. We have quite a few seniors that only take 5. So that did impact our full-time equivalent. So
They consider 5 like.
yeah. So the formula's changed, whereas last year we could count that as a 1.0. So we also have quite a few, I think we have around 79 students attending Running Start. So there's a little bit of an impact there as well. So so the numbers were a little bit off, but we're not alone in that in this region. But it's really interesting that 3 of the bigger districts saw a real decrease, and one of the smaller districts actually saw an increase.
I think in Moscow it was because of the charter.
I talked to Superintendent Bailey. That has a little bit to do with the he believes, but they're really not sure either. But they also noticed enrollment with the U of I was down. And I know at WSU, most of our students come from grad students, not necessarily freshmen, right? So.
Where is our impact? Is it at the elementary level, the middle school level, or the high school level?
It's actually kind of spread throughout. One area, I believe it was 4th grade, Diane, or 5th grade, which is actually, I want to say, helpful this year, since that's one of our most impact at grade levels. So that was kind of an interesting trend because we still have a lot of construction, a lot of building going on. But also the company that did our projections showed that we would continue to grow, but we would be slowing down. So I don't know if we're starting to see that in actuality, because they looked at birth rates, they looked at a lot of different variables. So, but it's one of the things that we're going to monitor very, very closely because that does impact our funding.
We would have data on the part-time student equivalent as well, though, right?
Yes.
So is that number available somewhere? So according to what you're saying, it might be well over.
Yeah, like how many students
We could
do
have more headcount students than we do FTE. Yeah.
So are the partial FTEs reflected in this, or is this only full?
That's total.
Okay,
That's
so
total. Yeah. So that's counting all the FTE. So we're close, but not where we should be.
yeah, that makes sense with the restructuring of what they call FTEs, in addition to tapering out.
So that's something we're really going to have to take a look at. So I just wanted to call that to your attention. So general fund budget. So with 2,793 students, 182 certificate, 14 admin, and 132 classes. So where does the money come from? So again, this is very similar to what you've seen before. So 69% of that comes from the state or general purpose, about 12% from local taxes, state special programs is another 13%, federal is about 4%, and revenue from other school districts really less than 1%.
That gap attention.
Yeah. So where is the money spent? As you can see, 40% of that is certificated salaries, 15% classified. Employee benefits and taxes is 24%. That's been an area that continues to increase as the state seems to be pushing more and more of that, especially retirement, onto school districts. School supplies and instructional resources, 9%. Purchase services, those would be like personal contracts for specialized services, about 12%. Capital outlay, right at this point, is 0, and travels basically 0. This is a slide that you have seen before. This is looking at our 4-year projection. As you know, with the change to the levy collection, currently we were collecting $2.70 per thousand of assessed value. We are going to be limited to $1.50 in the future. So that is a cumulative effect. You can see in year 4, if things do not change, of a $2.6 million deficit. And with student enrollment not coming in where projected, that's something that we're going to really take a look at. In fact, we've scheduled a finance committee meeting, and so we'll be having some discussions about really taking a look at our expenditures and making some changes. Collective bargaining update. So we have a 2-year agreement with the teachers. We have a 3-year agreement with the custodians. We have a 3-year agreement with the building secretaries. And we met yesterday with the Pullman paraprofessionals. We have another bargaining date set up with them, October 24th. So we're getting close to having all of our bargaining units, collective bargaining agreements ratified. So that's exciting for us. You should see the custodians probably in the next packet. We're just going through double checking, editing, and getting that wrapped up. Enrichment, this is an area that will be impacted and has some definite limitations in funding, but also some defined requirements from the state now. So by state, this is what the levy, enrichment levy is allowed for, extracurricular activities, obviously sports, academics, extended school days or school year, additional course offerings, administration of those enrichment activities, extra staff for class size reduction, which we have right now in K-3 with the 17-to-1 ratio. Additional staff beyond those ratios. This also, we use enrichment funds to also fund what the state does not. For example, we have a number of paraprofessional positions that we receive absolutely no funding for, but we fund those out of enrichment. Professional development, and as you've seen in the report earlier, summer school.
Going back to the additional course offerings, is that any, what constitutes additional?
Anything above basic education. So this would be a lot of your electives, CTE offerings to a degree, additional course offerings that we may not receive funding for.
But, so like CTE is a graduation requirement. Does the state say how many CTE course offerings?
They give us an allotment.
Okay.
We're happy to go above that allotment. So one of the things, additional course offerings could also be language offerings that we offer. Could be sports medicine. One of the ones we'd like to add would be computer science in the future. So those would be possibly coming out of enrichment or partially funded by enrichment. Facilities, so we added 6 elementary classrooms in 2014, 4 in 2016. Kamiak is set to be completed in spring of 19. That's a picture, the top 2 pictures of Kamiak very recently. So they're making good progress. As you know, the high school was completed in 2016. So really, we're going to 4 elementaries. We've redone the high school, but we really haven't done anything with Lincoln Middle School, and that's approaching capacity. We have a couple teachers right now that give up a portion of their classroom during the day so other teachers can teach in that, and they're on carts. So we really need to take a look at that. And so that bond, the original bond for LMS, will be retiring in 2020. And so that'll be something we'll be talking with the Finance Committee about, going out maybe for a remodel bond and trying to keep that no higher than the current collection rate. But we need to take a look at that. The infrastructure, the commons area, probably another set of restrooms, some additional classrooms. So that's one that we need to take a look at now so we don't get behind the curve on that. Transportation facility, we have completed purchase of a new piece of property. Joe and I is on our to-do list, is rising quickly, is that we're going to take a look at trying to obtain a state grant to pay for 90% of a new facility. Our current facility is 1967, Joe? 54, yeah. And it looks like it. So we really need to do something with that. Pioneer Center, when the city vacates, we'll probably need to do some minor improvements and some other requirements possibly, depending on how we reutilize that facility. So just kind of give you an update. These are things on the horizon that we also need to be paying attention to.
Has the city given us a timeline?
Originally they said June of this year, but I know they haven't even started their remodel, so don't think that's going to happen. So I think it'll probably be another year. Probably. We haven't had that conversation, but I won't be surprised if that's the date they give us. So.
And the aquatics?
The aquatic center, yeah, that was not intentional to leave that off, but I think I forgot it in preparing it. But the aquatic center, we're working with the city and having some conversations. The aquatic center heating and cooling system is on its last leg. We have an agreement that's been in since it was built with the city to pay for half of that cost, and they've got some pretty expensive bills to pay on, and we would be responsible for half of that. And so that may be something that would come out of enrichment levy, because that's really an enrichment. So that's a conversation we're going to have, and actually that is on our Finance Committee agenda. I forgot to put it on here, but thank you for.
No problem. And then, so the $1.50 per thousand, that's the enrichment
Yep.
So that's,
So, I mean, in our first half year, we're gonna lose 300, we're gonna, let me say not lose, but we're not gonna be able to, acquire $300,000 that we used to be able to receive. That's gonna have an impact eventually. Safety, security, so emergency protocols, those have all been updated. After any unfortunate situation, we always do meet with our providers, both the fire department and the police department. We meet with them annually every August to kind of review, update our plans, talk about what are some things that we may need to change or what some recommendations. Over the summer that we did install security cameras in all schools. In all schools. And so there's a variety of things we've done. And we're continuing to look at some additional measures that we in the future. A lot of those are going to be based on research as we implement. Just some fun facts. Did you know activities, and this is just a snapshot. So classrooms are used, and these are community public facilities. They're used for the gyms are used all the time. Elaborate facilities are used all the time as well. And so keeping them in good condition and safe and upkeep, of course, also planning and as we new school, to maintain the parking as well. So there are some of these facilities, there are some additional costs. On the right side,
upkeep, maintenance,
we have to take a look at that. With the credit card, it's pretty easy because we use that for printing, we use it for classes. I'm not sure if an additional mower would be And before we run our next levy, we'll have to get approval from OSPI. So no longer can we just go out and run it. We're going to have to say what we intend to spend it on.
So there might be a partial enrichment or a percentage of
Could be.
these buildings that be part of an enrichment
Possibly.
package.
It's going to be a new era
Right.
of finding out what is allowable and not allowable. On partnerships, as you know, we have quite a partnerships with Park and Recs, community groups. Arabic Language School uses one of our facilities for Saturday school. One of the things we're always trying to balance is between school and community use, that upkeep and maintenance. One of the ones that sometimes we run into is the football field. If we have a really wet fall, in order to keep that for our high school games, sometimes we may restrict some of the community clubs from using that because the turf just gets so beat up, it becomes a safety issue. So, but we do allow clubs still to use the middle school field. So sometimes that can be, but so far the weather's been really nice and the grass is still looking good. So obviously another picture here of Kamiak. So getting closer and closer each day to completion. So really excited about that. And this upcoming month, you'll have an opportunity to take another tour. Also, just for our audience, if you're ever interested, Thursday or by Friday, we usually post the weekly pictures on the district website. Instructional programs, again, just a highlight, full-day kindergarten implemented in 2016. Wi-Fi has been added to our buses. Elementary specialist schedules, of course, you had some. Jennifer presented the STEM, art, PE, music. We had the TOSAs who also presented. Career choices, a new class here at PHS, and we'll be taking a look at how that course goes this year and giving you a summary on that this spring. Professional development continues to go. We've had some excellent professional development, as you heard from the TOSAs. We've had some excellent feedback from the evaluations, and we're continuing on. We're looking forward to October 12th. Vince Martinez will be back to work with our staff, and people are really anticipating that training. Student achievement, all of our schools consistently outperform state average. We have a high graduation rate. Students are engaged in authentic projects, as you heard tonight. We have a high participation in extracurricular activities, and student scores on the college readiness, and particularly the SAT, very, very high. You saw this, I believe, our last school board meeting. Again, I put it in because you can see ELA scores from 3rd grade through 10th. This is the state. You can see the district. You can see that, again, we're above the state average. You can see the math scores, state average. You can see our scores for the district. Again, science, there's the state average. Here's our district average. As you can see in 11th grade, we're quite a ways ahead of the state scores. Just some additional, our unexcused absent rate, we've been working on that, particularly Pullman High School and the elementaries and middle school are following suit, working on that. And you can see that's paying off when you take a look at our unexcused absent rate compared to the rate at Washington State. Our graduation cohort, 4-year and 5-year.
Has the middle school implemented the high school's?
I believe they're still in process of working some of the pieces out.
No, it is, yeah, being communicated.
They're working on it. Just again, I think you've seen this before, but we had 199 students take AP exams. The total number of exams was 320. So exam scores with a 3, 4, or 5, which would be counted towards credit at different universities across the nation, 233. That continues to be one of our goals, is to increase that offering. So some challenges and opportunities. Obviously, I talked about enrollment, facility needs. Again, I left off the aquatic center on there, but that should be on there as well. The Every Student Succeeds Act, that replaced the No Child Left Behind Act. Still learning a lot, and we'll continue to receive direction from the federal government on that. Future funding and levy reduction is a huge concern that we'll be taking a close look at. And leading into that, we'll be maintaining or adding our enrichment activities. That's one of the things that when you're losing those levy funds or not getting as much funds as you previously had, that can have an impact on what you're able to offer as far as enrichment. And a focus we'll have this year with the legislative session will be on education and going back to our state legislators and advocating for changes, especially to the salary allocation model and additional funding for special education. Those are going to be 2 of the highest priorities that I will have when I go to Olympia. As you know, we have a number of partnerships. This is by no way a comprehensive list, but just to give you an idea of the different partnerships that we do have with various organizations in the community. And of course, as board of directors, you've been spending a lot of time, especially this summer, with an extensive data review in the efforts to close the opportunity gap. You've revamped your yearly program reports. So each meeting, school board meeting or work session, you're getting a specialized report from one area of the district. Work sessions, discussion topics include school improvement plans, which you will be seeing soon. Probably the November work session, I believe. Schools are working on it now. I was at Franklin today, and they were working on their school improvement plan. You'll get curriculum updates, CTE, graduation requirements, athletics, and activities. You've been reviewing our facilities goals. I'm going to keep bringing that back. And you've had an update on the development of professional development plan, including guest speakers, articles, and various readings, and you participating in those professional development plans. If you are available on October 12th, even if it's for a little while, I would encourage you to stop by the high school and get an opportunity to participate in our professional development with Vince Martinez. Communication, that's an area that Shannon works very hard at, and of course the website, it's a great place to go. Flyers, superintendent's newsletters, which I just remembered, Shannon, I got to get you the comments back this month, so that'll come out tomorrow for sure. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, monthly message, it's actually done for this month. I just haven't reviewed it totally, and back to Shannon, so. Again, upcoming, I just want to say a big thank you to the Elementary Attendance Boundary Committee. They worked very hard this past year to work on new attendance boundaries for all 4 of the elementary schools, which we've never had. So in the fall, these boundaries will go into effect, so fall 2019. And we'll have a lot of students moving and a lot of staff moving to new schools. And we're working on that transition plan to make sure this goes as smoothly as possible. So the state of the district, never perfect, but still extraordinary. I do want to give a special thanks to our partnerships with individuals, business organizations in the community, and a thanks to all the parents that support the schools. Without them, a lot of these things would not be possible in our school districts. With that, that concludes my State of the District address. Questions?
Those constituents, Bob, that have concerns on the boundary and transition plan, who should they direct those to, you or Joe?
They can direct them to me.
To you.
Yeah.
Is that on the website?
We have it on the website, correct? Any other questions?
Thank you. That
All
was
right.
good.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Bob.
All right, and now a report on uncollected non-tax revenue presented by our fiscal manager, Diane.
Let's see if you can beat the compliance report, Diane. This one.
So every year we bring forward a list of uncollected non-tax revenue according to policy 6119. Anything over 7 years can be written off as uncollectible. So we are bringing forward a total of $346.50 of unpaid rentals, fees, and fines that we haven't been able to collect. And Inland Merchant, after 7 years, will stop trying to collect this. So as of December 31st, we will write off this $346 as uncollectible.
How does this compare with years?
You know, it's pretty similar. It's always about that, you know, it goes anywhere from $700. It's usually under $1,000. So and you know, in reality, it's really nominal compared to the amount of money we actually collect in rentals and fees and fines. So, yeah.
Thank you, Diane. My favorite kind of presentation.
I know.
Yeah.
Under a minute.
I won't tell you how much I own library fines at WSU.
It's good to know they write them off after 6 years, though.
No, they don't.
All right. The next portion of the agenda is the visitors section. This part of the agenda is for anyone wishing to speak before the board, either as an individual or as a member of a group. Visitors addressing the board will go to the microphone and state their name and address prior to presenting their information. The board will listen and may offer clarification, but will not discuss the topic at this time. The board may consider moving the topic presented to a future meeting date as a discussion item. Please keep your comments civil and respectful and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. No one has signed in on the visitor sheet, but that doesn't mean that you can't speak. Would anyone care to address the board? It appears no one is here to address the board, so we will next move on to the consent agenda. To expedite business at a board meeting, the board approves the use of a consent agenda, which includes items considered to be routine in nature. Any item which appears on the consent agenda may be removed from the consent agenda by a member of the board and voted on separately. The remaining items will be voted on by a single motion. And tonight's consent agenda consists of minutes, warrants, overnight field trip requests, personnel report, professional and personal services contracts, and the 2018-19 Highly Capable Program Plan. And I would now entertain a motion regarding the consent agenda.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next, we have a single action item tonight. It is policy 6110, video surveillance, presented by Superintendent Maxwell.
Thank you. So this is a new WASDA policy, so this would be new for our district. We do have a similar policy for videos that are currently, we have cameras on our buses, almost all the buses. But we do not have a policy for the cameras within our buildings. And so this is not uncommon anymore. Probably hard to find a school anywhere in the nation that does not have cameras any longer. So this is basically straight from the WASDA recommendation. I did strike out handbooks just because the handbooks have already gone out electronically and in print. But I would recommend that we add those to handbooks, but we would put this on the district website. We do have signage at all the buildings, just to let folks know that we do have surveillance cameras on site. They're usually a plaque that you can see coming into the high school or any of the elementary schools or middle schools.
So it says common areas. Are there any classrooms that have cameras?
We do not have cameras in classrooms. Hallways, common areas are primarily outside.
Take one addendum to that.
Yes.
We do have them in gyms, and we do have them in the shop.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Yeah. I didn't think of those as classrooms,
No,
but
that's fine. I was
if you want to also, we do have cameras in this room.
oh, yeah, I watched it.
Yeah. So we do have them in the shop and in the gym.
I won't ask when.
Can we make a note to add this information to the handbooks for next year?
Yes, I've already made a note for
Okay.
that, yeah.
Okay, and then we'll probably need to update this.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll just unstrike handbooks and put handbooks
And that
in.
could just be an information.
And that would just be an information. I might put it at the bottom and just say, we've added it to the handbooks.
Okay.
I move that we approve policy 6110.
Yeah, second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve policy 6110, video surveillance. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the policy is approved. Next, we have a few discussion items tonight. The first one is minimum basic education compliance, presented by our communications coordinator, Shannon Focht.
And you want total program hours up first?
Just the executive summary would be fine.
Okay.
Thank you. So this is an annual report that we were required to submit to the State Board of Education, and there are a handful of requirements related to minimum number of school days, minimum number of hours of instruction, graduation requirements. And so, as you can see up on the board, we are required to have 1,000 hours of instruction for grades K through 8, and we exceed that. We have 1,085 in K through 5, and then 1,069 at the middle school. In the high school, their average hours increased last year to 1,080, and we do meet that. We are over by 6.3 hours, so we are just squeaking by. And then all of our schools do have 180 days of instruction. Kindergartners do not attend the first 3 days, but those count as conference time, and those are covered for definition of instructional hours. And then state graduation requirements, as you have seen in our policy, we update that frequently to match state requirement. And I did notice in the report to State Board of Education this year, they've added some questions related to financial literacy, which is now included in our career choices class. So are there any questions about the report? Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shada.
Next, Assistant Superintendent Roberta Kramer presenting on graduation level assessments for math course adoption.
Okay, as you know, we bring any course addition request to the Board of Directors. We are at a critical point for some of our seniors who need to meet the mathematics state assessment requirement and have not been able to through typical traditional testing or the SBA, Smarter Balanced Assessment. And students continue, even though they may not have met the proficiency requirements, they still continue to retake that assessment in the fall and then again in the spring. However, an opportunity that the state has provided us is to provide collection of evidence, which is an assessment that used to be around pretty heartily. It disappeared for a couple of years and the state has brought it back as a way, and what it is 5 modules that students have to be exposed to, have to have experience with, and then are assessed. And then our teachers score those modules and determine whether or not the student has demonstrated proficiency in those. We have added those modules to Algebra 2 for students that are at that level. However, we have some students that don't access Algebra 2 and are in statistics as seniors. And so we're proposing that we add graduation level assessment for math as a means to provide experiences for students to meet the graduation mathematics assessment requirements. And I included for you a copy of the worksheet that Pullman High School developed related to this course proposal. It's designed to provide experiences for students to meet the assessment requirement in high school mathematics by engaging in those collection of evidence tasks. Currently, we have about 25 students, maybe as of the latest 21 students, who are seniors and are in danger of not graduating because they have not met that requirement. And we also, the course, while this year is specifically designed for seniors, it may also present as a future opportunity to support juniors. So the course is designed for both 11th and 12th graders. Those seniors will have enrollment priority, and enrollment is on an invitation only basis, because we could anticipate that perhaps some students would say, oh, I'd rather do that than an Algebra 2 or pre-cal. I mean, it could happen, but this really is designed for those kiddos that have not met that requirement. The counselor counselors have had conversations with all of the students, so there has been conversation. Marcus Mackler has been willing to teach this course. We're funding this course from Learning Assistance Program funds because we can provide funds to support coursework that leads to high school graduation for kiddos that have not met those requirements as of yet. I think the piece that makes me even more excited about this course, other than Marcus's enthusiasm for it and willingness to take on the challenge, is the piece that there's an opportunity for kids to go beyond the high school graduation requirement in this course and to help to prepare kids for the ACT. And sometimes that ACT is that springboard that gets a kiddo to college. And so we like to look at it. It's the high school graduation requirement, but it also prepares them to go beyond that. And so we're excited by that opportunity as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions. CAC did meet and approve that we forward this request to the Board of Directors.
So this would be something that gets offered this school year?
Yes.
And with those 21 to 25 students in danger of not graduating, this is the reason that they're
Right.
not graduating, so this will be
It will
the-
increase the likelihood of their graduation. Now, they're going to have to complete the tasks and meet proficiency standards on the tasks, but the course is designed to do that. As the OSPI has made those tasks available in the past, they're kind of this mystery, and now they've put those out there so teachers even know what is required of the
What
kids.
sorts of modules are they?
I wish I could give you a real great example off the top of my head. I'm trying to think of conversations
It's
that
okay,
we've
we can
had.
talk about it.
Algebra 2 concepts is what it really is are many of the concepts that are in Algebra 2 because that's really what the standard is for graduation. The tricky part to that is many students don't take Algebra 2 till their junior year, and so if you haven't made typical progress in mathematics, you wouldn't have had exposure to that. So, it's overall a real challenge for us, but it is typical Algebra 2 content with some other pieces around geometry and some statistics components are included as well.
What year did they take the SBA?
Now they take it as 10th graders. Our current seniors didn't take it until they were juniors. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So really our students that took it last year that are current juniors, if they didn't meet proficiency, they'll have more opportunities to retake the course, to retake the test. But what we really know is that not all kids learn the exact same and they need different experiences, and this course provides that different experience.
And are all 21 to 25 taking the same section together?
They will.
Okay.
That's what they would take this course. They would enroll in this course.
Will they have to move their schedules around?
Yes. We have 3 phenomenal counselors and kids that are motivated to graduate and an incredibly flexible staff because it impacts the entire schedule.
And does this happen once we approve this?
Yes.
So would it be helpful to act on it? So that-
I would appreciate that. Yeah.
Were the CAC minutes in the board pack?
I don't believe that those minutes were in the board packet, but I believe that they were, Courtney sent out the minutes right after them.
She did. I think it would be helpful
Sure.
in the future. I don't know if there's a way to supplement that, just so that I know sometimes as a board member, I like to go back and review a decision, and if that were in there as a supplement,
Yes.
it would be helpful.
We can always do that.
Okay.
That's not a problem for
Okay.
future. Yeah.
But
I would move that we change the graduation level assessment for math course adoption to an action item.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we move this item to an action item. Is there any further?
Just to clarify, the 5 modules are put together by OSPI?
Yes. Yeah. It's specific content that OSPI has designed.
So I think I would agree with Amanda. It'd be nice if we could get what
Yep.
that looks like.
We can get that to some degree. We can share themes of the content, but there's also agreements that we have with OSPI about how that's disseminated or shared or not shared. They have certain security restrictions to some of that content from the website because we have to apply to do this kind of a course, and they have to release those collection of evidence modules to us as a district, and only certain people can have access to that. So as it's appropriate, I'm happy to share it.
So who makes the decision if the student passes the 5 modules?
Our teacher. So in this case, Mr. Mackler, students that may be accessing the collection of evidence in Algebra 2 this year, the teachers that teach Algebra 2.
So he would have to submit that to OSPI?
Yes. And we had two of our teachers, Marcus Mackler and Lisa Morris, attend a training specific to that last week at the ESD.
Is there any further discussion about moving this? None, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so it is now an action item.
Move that we approve graduation level assessments for math course adoption.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve this new course graduation level assessments for math adoption. Is there any further discussion?
I mean, I'm cool as long as, I would like to see whatever examples
Yes.
for some clarity.
And what I'd actually like to do is perhaps have Mr. Mackler come to the work session and talk with you about it. I think that would be
great, yeah.
fun. It would be fun for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay.
I'm
Hearing none.
intrigued by the secrecy.
I can tell you are.
Well, they can't release the exact tasks. It's just like with the state assessment. They don't put out the state assessment prior to kids taking it. So it's similar to that.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Congratulations.
Thank
The
you.
report is adopted. Okay. Next, we have policy 1400, meeting conduct, order of business, and quorum, presented by Superintendent.
Thank you. So, in our pace to keep up with the continual changes in policy and procedures, you might recognize I went back and looked at the last time we looked at 1400 policy, and it happened to be September 13th, 2017. So it's back. This is listed as a WASDA as essential. I spent time reviewing this a couple times to see what the changes were so I could figure out what the essential changes might be. From what I've noticed, there were minor changes to the titles, quorum and voting. Before it just said quorum. Public attendance and comment, it just said public comment. Very minor. As we go deeper, you'll see some more changes. So additional language. Any member of the public may attend board meetings, including individuals who do not live within the district boundaries. The board will not require people to sign in, complete questionnaires, or establish other conditions for attendance. Obviously, somewhere they were making people sign in just to walk in the room and attend. We don't ask people to sign up unless they're going to speak. Also, apparently some school districts were not allowing people that did not live within the district boundaries to attend, which wouldn't make sense, especially if their child were attending that district. Also, the board may structure the public comment period, including determining the total time allotted for public comment and equally appointing the minutes for each speaker. The board is not obligated to provide additional public comment time to accommodate everyone in attendance who wishes to speak. Any structure the board imposes will be content neutral. So basically, this was clarified, I think, because of a lot of the, I'll say, statewide negotiations where a lot of school boards wouldn't let, couldn't have 100 people speak and have a number of minutes. And this has been reaffirmed by the legal staff at WASDA, is that you don't have to accommodate every speaker that may sign up to speak. Additional language, the board is not obligated to respond to questions or challenges made during a public comment period. And the board's silence does not signal an agreement or endorsement of a speaker's remarks. They also included the language, examples of uncivil comments. I'll show you those next. It's a whole bulleted list. The board as a whole has the final decision in determining the appropriateness of all such rulings and can maintain order by removing those who are disruptive. However, the board recognizes the distinction between uncivil discourse, which it will not tolerate, and comments about the board, district, and/or staff that are negative yet still civil in nature, and will exercise its authority to maintain order in a content-neutral manner. So let me click out of here for a second. So in your packet, for the changes here, here's one of the minor ones. I've highlighted any new language that differed from our original. If you look at the WASDA sample and ours, some of the paragraphs are the same, but maybe in a different order. So
Can I
this,
stop and ask a question about this one right here?
Yes.
I noticed this in reviewing it. Above section 7, it
Mhm.
says that we'll refrain from communicating electronically with fellow board members.
correct. If you remember, there's a couple court cases where,
Oh, sure, I get why that would be illegal.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, wouldn't we want to, as a policy, refrain from communicating electronically during board meetings at all?
yeah, and this specifically, we had, our original language was during board meetings, board members will refrain from communicating electronically. We did not have with fellow board members, which is in the WASDA policy. So this would, to me, read, you wouldn't be texting Nathan during the board meeting.
Right, but I also shouldn't be texting Beth.
No, you should
Yeah,
not.
but
Not during a board meeting.
If you're at home, you would want to be able, if your kid was texting you to say, hey, come take care of me, that you want to.
So,
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
leave it to civil.
Or perhaps limit it to emergency
Yeah.
communication. Something. I am not comfortable with the idea of somebody.
Emailing someone.
Yeah.
But it's so quick and easy. I mean, but do you want to put in there fellow board members or any public person about? Is this just blanket forbidding of all electronic?
this would be one I think you would want to clarify a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's worth discussing. Because before we were refraining from using devices during board meetings. Now it appears we just won't use devices with each other. And that seems like a really big jump.
Could you add something like unless necessary?
Yeah, something that's,
Mhm.
and certainly we wouldn't be discussing board business electronically.
Absolutely not.
With their fellow board members and only as necessary with anyone else.
Something,
In general.
anyway,
I'll-
could you
I'll
take a
work-
note about this?
I'm taking
Yes.
a note. This is one you're going to want to review.
Yeah,
It's pretty complex and it's got a lot of depth to it, so I will play around with some language and see if
Okay.
I can come up with something. And this may not be the only spot, by the way, so
Yeah.
that's why I do want to take some time. It's pretty in-depth. This one, this is what I just showed you. I basically copied and pasted because I think it's important to take a look at.
pretty common to schedule time for public comment, but also to limit it in some way, like let's say maximum of 20 minutes or whatever.
Then you divide the time amongst all the
Yeah,
people who
if,
say.
Yeah.
how many people here want to speak? If you see 50 hands go up, then you should just say, I'm sorry, you know. You have to figure out a way.
No, as far as like, can one community member give up their time slot for?
That's not in this language, but that's I don't think that's a common practice that I've ever
We
seen.
did that once at a board meeting, and then afterwards I read that was not a thing. So, like, oopsie.
Not appropriate
Yeah.
protocol.
Yeah.
Well, now we just admit it on camera, so.
Well, it had never come up before, so, I mean, I couldn't point to anything in the rules that prevented it, but it might be something. We've talked about creating some guidelines for public comment, which I think we still should do, and it might have some kind of, wouldn't necessarily.
Just put like a poster up.
I'm going to go down.
So would that go in this policy, or would it go in another policy?
About not,
Well, I think that's really a big issue, is limiting the amount of time public comment.
this is in this one. You could put that into your procedure if you wanted to set, visitor section will be 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever it is.
This policy allows for it, but doesn't say what it would.
Yeah.
Well, I would think it could say something like not to exceed,
Oh,
because I can see where someone who has taken the time to become a visitor would become upset if they weren't allowed to speak.
Or they wrote a 3-minute letter and give it a minute.
It's almost like first come, first serve on signing up for that visitor list. If you're the top 10, then you've got a speaking engagement. But
Right.
if you come in, you're down at number 30 or number 50, then I think you'd realize I'm probably not going to be able to speak at this meeting. I'll just have to come earlier next time, sign up earlier.
yeah, and I know.
And could they sign up via email or a phone call in advance?
Yeah,
I can see all sorts of ramifications for people.
I feel a little bit conflicted about limiting it because I do feel like everyone has the right to say their thing, and we do limit them to 3 minutes already. And
I think
it's
this just
so-
says we may.
Okay. And
It
it
doesn't say we will,
Okay.
Yeah.
and it doesn't say what the limit would be.
Sure.
It says
Sure,
may.
and it's so infrequent that we have more than a few people
Yeah.
that I'm not sure, if there's that many people that have something to say.
And I believe this language
probably
came
listen
because
to
of the turmoil across the state this time, and you
Sure.
probably see this every
And I mean,
10 or 15 years.
we
I
dealt
mean,
with that too. We had our
Yeah.
several hour board
But I know
meeting as
in-
well, but
in Moses Lake, they had so many people, and what they did, I believe, was you drew cards,
Oh,
and if you got a green, you could talk. If you had a red, they had to do something because otherwise they'd be there through the night.
uh-huh.
So, but that's an extreme case. So, the other part, I just struck out this language because it's already in the new language again. This would be one, I included it, but it gives specific bullet point examples of uncivil comments. I don't know if those are needed, but I put them in because they were on the WASDA. So that was one that to take a look at and see, do you need to be that specific or not? The board does have as a whole, has a final decision to determine the appropriateness of all such rulings and can maintain order by removing those who are disruptive. But again, you have to realize that, what's uncivil and what degree does it become totally uncivil. And you have, your right is this is your meeting. So this is one that I would definitely spend some time to take a look at. And if you have suggestions, feel free to email me, and I can play around with some wordsmithing if you have particular concerns. Any other questions or comments I can help with?
Yeah, Amanda, I agree with what you're saying. If people take, but then what if 150 people? We should have a process in place where we could deal with that if needed.
Yeah,
Because,
I mean, I think it's a discussion that we should have.
yeah, because I know like for City of Pullman, they can have a continuation of a hearing if it goes beyond 11 o'clock at night. The visitor section right now is before we do any business, any official business. So how would that work? Because we'd have to listen to everybody before we even got to our actual meeting. So it is something we should probably
Absolutely.
think about.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, and this is not time sensitive
Yeah.
by any means, so this is something that I'd rather you take your time on and think about and, you know.
It might be good to bring it to a work session and
Yeah.
chat about the what if.
And that's absolutely fine.
Okay.
Actually, my original was planned to put this in the next one anyway, but
Oh,
it got
okay.
in early, so.
Okay.
But it is a pretty depth and complex policy, so you want to take some time on it. I wanted to bring your attention early enough you have time to really look at it.
All right. And next, we have Shannon Foch presenting on the staff climate survey.
It's totally up to your preference.
Okay, how about if there's a question?
Absolutely, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, when the board agreed to implement a communications advisory committee, one of the tasks that they assigned to that group was to explore the idea of a staff climate survey. And so we did as a committee, and they came up with kind of some criteria for that staff climate survey, and they're listed up on the board. And so the 5 things listed include conducted by an independent party, anonymous, online, repeatable over time. So we would start with this year as a baseline, and then in subsequent years repeat a survey as identical as possible so that we can see progress over time. And then in addition to being online, it would need to be 15 to 20 minutes max. We don't want people to, get exhausted and stop taking the survey. And ideally, we would have 100% participation. We'd love to have as many people give their feedback as possible. We are still in the process of screening different vendors to try to find a good fit for our district, both in terms of cost and in terms of meeting the criteria listed. So Nathan and I will work together to kind of screen those. I've got a list of vendors. I've got a few meetings set up to try to kind of see if they might be a good fit for our school district. I did list potential pricing up there. Some of the more reputable full service companies that provide staff climate survey services are in the range of $5,000 to $10,000, and they do often provide a discount for not-for-profit groups, and I'm imagining we would qualify for that. And we can keep you updated. I'm not sure what you suggest in terms of moving it to action. We're not approving any kind of specific vendor at this point.
So one of our concerns that we brought up in the committee was the timing of the survey. We would like it to happen in the fall, routinely, just so that we can kind of wait until the school year starts, but get a good snapshot in the beginning. To make that timeline, I would ask that the board move this to an action item this evening, just so that we can get Shannon and I started on getting a vendor and setting up the survey. It takes several weeks to get questions written and then survey designed, and then a few more weeks take the survey, and then a few more after that for analysis. So I would move that we move this item to an action. No other questions.
It's been moved and seconded that we move the staff climate survey to an action item. Are there?
In terms of the budget, would our budget allow for that high cost? Or would we have to defer till the spring or fall of 19? Oh, okay.
The repeatability is, doing it next year might be an issue, you think?
It might be.
So we could do it every 2 years, or we could,
Then you could budget it.
exactly.
I'm also curious, and maybe you guys don't have the answers yet because we don't have the vendor, but is the initial cost more than it would be in the future? Because we would already be set up with this vendor and like the questions would pretty much be lined out already and they would have, you know, obviously there would be some fluctuations in the email that would need to go out with who's on the list, et cetera, but it seems like it would be the most work the first year that we set it up.
And I don't have a definitive question to or answer to that quite yet. Although what we've seen with other contracts is if you sign a multi-year kind of contract, there is a discount for signing that up front. So I'll look into that and see if there's any kind of discount offered for a multi-year contract.
And then the only other thing that I would add is when we do send this out, to be sure that we outline that this survey will likely take 15 to 20 minutes, so somebody doesn't sit down and then not have the opportunity to finish it for one reason or another because they weren't sure how long it would take.
Yeah, absolutely.
Communications.
Yeah.
No, and I think we're hoping to get as large of a percentage of I know during the committee we discussed different ways that we could get buy-in from the staff. I mean, I think it being anonymous, third-party sort of situation, I think alleviates a lot of it. I'm hoping we get it.
Yeah, and a reputable company will have experience in following up with people that haven't participated yet, and they should be including that in their service as well.
So it's been moved and seconded that this. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the staff climate survey is now an action item. Is there a motion regarding the staff climate survey?
I move that we proceed with facilitating the staff climate survey.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we proceed with the staff climate survey under the parameters specified. Is there any further discussion?
Parameters meaning every other year. Starting this year and then.
I was thinking the written parameters here.
I think we could probably defer that decision for the next budgeting cycle, basically, see where we're at.
Yeah, we
and
don't
where can
actually
fit it in.
know right now.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it's something that we definitely unanimously wanted repeated, but we also want it to be affordable, and so we'll have to strike that balance. But no, I would appreciate not stipulating that quite yet. Probably. Yes, wheels are turning.
Could I see the top of the, yes, sorry.
The parameters mentioned in the suggested action statement are those 5 bulleted points up there.
I was just looking at the time, repeatable over time. It doesn't specify what time.
Right, it's not
Okay.
committing us
Yeah,
to doing it more than 1 year.
Okay.
And I'm actually just want to clarify because I'm not sure exactly how it works, but once a vendor is chosen, do we need to vote on the vendor as well? Or is that something that the communications committee has the option of?
I was hoping with this, I mean, because Shannon and I talked about that, like, because we kind of weren't prepared with the vendor yet, but we wanted to get the ball rolling.
Sure.
And so I was hoping that this resolution would be the authority that Shannon needed to make the best decision possible according to kind of those criteria, you know? And so really, because I don't really want to be prescriptive and micromanaging, but I want to make sure we get the characteristics that we want.
No,
you know?
I'm
So,
just curious.
Yeah. And so I think, I mean, honestly, I think ideally we would say this is what we want, and please go find the best company that meets these criteria that you can.
Is that allowable?
That was what our discussion
You
was.
would have to put this into a consent agenda anyway.
Okay.
So
So we would be
you would have the
voting on it.
opportunity to vote on it, and you could, at that time, ask about it in the agenda. You might want to ask, you could pull it out for discussion and then put it back in and approve it separately, if you wanted more information on who the vendor was.
Would this qualify as a contracted service?
Yes.
It would be in the professional or personal services report.
So that's once we make a decision on the vendor, and then we have to put it in the consent agenda before proceeding.
Well, you could be proceeding, it just, they're not gonna get their money.
Okay.
Yeah.
So make sure they know.
Yeah.
This is contingent.
I mean, that's not that unusual. There's lots of contracts in there that
Have already been
people are, it's going. It's
Mhm.
just that the check can't be issued until that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
You did all the hard work for me.
All right, it looks like there are several, our internet is down here tonight, so we don't have the ability to look, but there's a number of informational items in the packet to refer to at another time. But for now, if there are no objections, we will recess into an executive session for the purpose of evaluating complaints against a public employee or employees and negotiations. Approximately how long?
I am going to try my best to keep it under 25 minutes.
Oh, okay. So, and then at 9 o'clock, no action will be taken during executive session, and then we would adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming.